Hi everyone, welcome back to Alice and the Giant Bookshelf. Today's video is my TBR for the month of May. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new. My name's Alice and I have way too many books, and I have definitely been getting really sidetracked by library books lately. I know this because I have more library books out of the library than I've ever had at any point in my life so far, I believe. Most of this has been reading books for the Women's Prize for fiction and the Women's Prize for non-fiction, and I do still want to carry on with that, but hopefully that will calm down a little bit in the month of May. I am trying to be sensible again in this TBR. I do want to read as much as I can from my shelf, and I don't want to mention too many books and make it unrealistic. So yeah, last month I tried to keep the TBR to 10 books, and I think I named 11 in that video, so I'm going for less than that this time. Hopefully at my last count it was 9, but the Women's Prize shortlist got announced today, so I may mention some of those books as well. I have also made myself the rule lately that I can only join in with readathons and reading challenges if I have books to do so on my bookshelf. So that is what I have done for some readathons this month, and that's also why I'm not participating in very many readathons this month. I'll get onto the readathons in a moment, and there are 2 that I plan to participate in, but first of all, book clubs and my own book club that I host with Gemma from Gemma Books and Jack from Spread Bookjoy, which is of course FOMO Bookclub. And FOMO Bookclub will be starting a new book in the month of May, and that is Strangers on a Train by Patricia Highsmith. So this is our book for the months of May and June, so plenty of time to read this one, which isn't all that long. And this is really, I think, the first time we've had like an out and out crime book. I would say that this is a sort of crime classic. Definitely expecting it to be a suspenseful sort of book, as far as I know, because this is quite a famous book and I have never read it. This involves 2 strangers meeting on a train and agreeing to kill each other's person that they want to murder or that is causing a problem for them, so that nobody will ever find out who did it. A very interesting concept for this one, and if you would like to join us for FOMO Book Club, I will leave all of the details linked in the description box. And we do have a Discord that you can join. If you don't get on with Discord, don't panic. You can just join us for our live chat, which will hopefully take place for this one at the end of June or beginning of July. And I think that this one is going to be taking place on my channel. So yeah, that's our next FOMO book, and there is 2 months available to read it in. But I may well get to this one in May, just because I think it sounds so good and I'm going to find it hard to wait until June. Next, moving on to the first readathon, and the one that I think I will be able to participate in the most from the books on my shelf. And this is Miserable May, which is a readathon hosted by Gemma from Gemma Books and Scott from Gunpowder Fiction and Plot. The idea of which is to read some really miserable, sad books that will make us cry. Hopefully I will also read some books that make me happy, because otherwise it's going to be a pretty miserable month. But yes, there are 9 prompts for this readathon, and I would urge you to go and check out Gemma and Scott's channels, because they have both made announcement videos and they've both made videos with some recommendations to make each other cry, which are very good videos with lots of very sad books in them. I don't think I can quite meet all of the prompts, and for some of them I'm definitely doubling up the prompts. So let's start with that. The first 2 prompts that I want to meet with this book are Animal and Classic, and the book I've chosen for those 2 prompts is Black Beauty by Anna Sewell. I mean, this has been on so many TBRs at this point, and I still haven't read it. and I know that it's a very, very sad book about a horse. I don't really like books that contain animal cruelty, and I know that this does, but I think that this is widely regarded as a very, very good book anyway. So I think I will enjoy this in the way that you can enjoy a sad book, and yeah, I am looking forward to reading this. If it's not in my TBR tin, it is very, very close to being in my TBR tin, so yeah, it'll be good to get one of the older books on my TBR read. I've slightly cheated on the next one to try and press gang it into 2 prompts, one of which is host pick and one of which is war. Now, for host pick, you were technically supposed to pick one of the books that Scott or Gemma recommended in those videos I've just mentioned, that I will link in the description down below. But I've gone a little bit off track because I am going to count this as a host pick because Gemma did actually send me this book. I know it will be miserable because of the subject matter, and it is non-fiction. It is a graphic book, a graphic memoir with stories told by lots of different people, I believe. And I'm fairly sure that those stories will encompass war in some form or another. So I'm going for this. It sort of fits those prompts, and that is Guantanamo Voices, edited by Sarah Merck. And this has been illustrated, I think, by several different artists, each illustrating different stories that this journalist has collected from people she has spoken to about their experiences with Guantanamo Bay. It's got a tagline here of true accounts from the world's most infamous prison. So I think that this is going to be very, very heavy going, despite being in like graphic novel type format. It obviously isn't a novel. And yeah, seeing as Gemma did send me this book, I am going to count it towards host pick, although I think that's a bit of a cheat. So there is a prompt of illness, and I'm not sure if any of the books that I've got will cover illness, so I've left that one. I have got a book for translated, and I think it will probably cover the prompt of immigrants as well. And I'm also using this to cover Ben Reads Goods, a Read Good challenge for the month of May. The May prompt is magical realism, and yeah, so you have to read a magical realism book. So I'm a bit scared that this is both magical realism and translated and probably very miserable. And it is 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. I think this one has been translated from Spanish, and it was translated by Gregory Rabassa. I've had this on my TBR a very, very long time. I'm not even sure now when or why I ended up getting it, but yeah, I have meant to try this for a very long time. I think it is in the TBR tin, and it's the only book that I'm sure contains magical realism on my bookshelf, and it's the only book I think I've got that is definitely also translated on my shelf. So I am multitasking with this one, and I'm a little bit intimidated by it. If you've read Gabriel Garcia Marquez before and got on well, I would love to hear from you in the comments, because that would make me feel a whole lot better about this. And I think the title really says to me misery, so I'm hoping that this will indeed be miserable. And there are 2 more books that I've decided to read for Misery May. One of them I didn't really know if it fits into any of the prompts, so we'll get to that one in a minute. This last one fits the prompt of feminist, and that is Women Talking by Miriam Taves. I don't think this needs any introduction on my TBR. I keep mentioning it on TBRs again and again, and I just never get to it. And I must get to it because I really, really want to read more books by Miriam Taves, and I really, really want to read this. And Women Talking is an imagined response to real events that occurred in the 2000s in a remote Mennonite colony. Hopefully May is the month to get to this at last. And last but not least, I think this will contain a lot of miserable themes, and that is The List of Suspicious Things by Jenny Godfrey. I don't know yet which miserable themes will be contained in this, but I did actually want to read this before it came out, and I didn't manage to do that. I received this in my goodie bag at the Women's Prize Live last year, and I would really like to read it before the Women's Prize Live happens this year, because that would be good. And also it recently came out and I keep hearing good things about it. I think it has a lot of hard-hitting topics in this. It's set in the UK when Margaret Thatcher was Prime Minister, I think in the 70s or 80s, and it's set in Yorkshire, I believe. So really looking forward to getting to this. So the other readathon that I really wanted to read something for this month, and that I have something on my shelf that will just about fit, is the Spoonies Readathon. And if you haven't heard of the Spoonies Readathon, it is being hosted by my friend Emily from Novelle Novels and Kat from Brews and Reviews. And this is a readathon that is shining a light on disability rep in books, and I think that that's a really important and positive thing. And if you go over to Em's channel or Kat's channel, there's lots there about why this readathon is so important to them both, and they are wanting to raise awareness about both invisible and visible disabilities. So wholeheartedly support that readathon, and I have picked some books for some of their prompts. My giant TBR has not got a huge amount of books that I know for a fact have disability rep in them. The prompts that I think I'm going to be able to cover is a book written by an author with a disability, and that book is definitely not about disability in any way, but that book is The Bookshop Book by Jen Campbell. Jen Campbell is a famous booktuber, and on her channel she has spoken about and advocated for disability as well, and I just think her channel is absolutely amazing and I love her writing. I actually just finished reading her poetry collection, The Girl Aquarium. I also, in the month of April, read her short story collection, The Beginning of the World in the Middle of the Night. So I'm on a bit of a roll reading Jen Campbell's books lately, and I would really like to get to the Bookshop Book. This was sent to me by the lovely Ange from Ange's Book Chatter, and is all about wonderful bookshops in the world. And I feel like I will need a book like this in my life, in amongst all these miserable books, to really cheer me up. Looking forward to reading all about bookshops from Jen Campbell, who I've actually first discovered through her books about weird things that customers say in bookshops, which is just hilarious. So I love that book. There are 4 other prompts I think I'm going to be able to meet for the Spoonies Readathon. One of them is the prompt of invisible disability, and I have taken this as covering mental health as well, which I know that both of the hosts also are keen to raise awareness of. I believe that the main character in this book suffers from anxiety, so I'm going to go ahead and read this for this prompt, and that is Everyone in This Room Will Someday Be Dead by Emily Austen, in a humorous way perhaps, which again will balance the misery books. I think that this will definitely deal with a main character with anxiety and possibly depression. And the final 2 prompts I think I'm going to be able to meet for Spoonies, which I would urge you to go over and check out the other prompts over on Emily or Kat's channels. I'll link it all in the description box down below. I think that this will meet the prompts of a character with visible disability, and also a book that is not from the contemporary genre. And this for me will actually meet my goal of continuing to try and get through my Dick Francis books. Now, Dick Francis is not an author that I know of who has any disabilities or invisible illnesses himself, and he wrote very few books that were in series. They were mostly standalones, but he did write one character who he kept coming back to, and I think there are 4 books featuring this ex-jockey whose name is Sid Halley, and he's definitely in this book Come to Grief. It's the 3rd one out of 4, and Sid Halley has a prosthetic limb. He has lost his arm. I think it might have been in the first book, but he already had an injury that stopped his horse racing career. This is a crime book, so there will undoubtedly be lots of difficult issues and topics in this one, but it will definitely still not be on the miserable side, I wouldn't have thought. So hopefully I've got a bit of a balance on this TBR. Let's see how many books I have actually mentioned. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, that's how many I thought I was mentioning. We have 9 books there that I've already mentioned. I wanted to stay below the 11 from last month, so I need to try and do that, but I will also be attempting to finish the Women's Prize shortlist. It was announced this morning and I'd actually only read in its entirety one of the books, which is a bit of a problem, but I have since finished the one that I was currently reading over the course of today, and I think that I will probably read another 2 that I previously DNF'd. Possibly will finish them before the end of April, so I'm not going to put them on this TBR, but I am going to put onto this TBR Enter Ghost by Isabella Hamad. This is one of the books that I have not yet tried on the shortlist, and I'm very much looking forward to trying it. And the other one is Brotherless Night by Vivi Ganeshanathan, but I do not have access to that yet. It is still on order from the library, so this will be the one that I will definitely hope to get to in the month of May, and that leaves me with a 10 book TBR. So hopefully I will read lots of books from my shelves. I also think at least one of these was on my 24 books to read in 2024. I think that's all for today. Do let me know in the comments if you are participating in either of these readathons. If you are, or if you are not, do let me know something that you are planning to read in the month of May, or let me know any thoughts you may have about the books that I have mentioned. If you have enjoyed this video today, I would love it if you gave it a like, and if you would consider subscribing if you haven't already. And I will hope very much to see you all again very soon for another video all about books here on Alice and the Giant Bookshelf. Bye for now.